This story comes in two parts. And I have a major part in the first part of the story. Then you're going to get to hear what Paul Harvey used to call the rest of the story. If you were here 2 weeks ago, you know that in the middle of our worship service, and Tony wasn't here, so we were kind of, flying by the seat of our pants anyway, so it was a little tense up here on stage. This man walks down that aisle over there, walks up here to the front of the church, stands right here in front of the band, and lifts up a puppy and says, "This puppy needs a home." And I said, Hey, you're interrupting our worship service. The guy was rude. I mean, who does something like that? Well, finally I convinced the man to go to the back of the church, and I thought, well, this is one from my book, Only at the CrossRoads. People giving away dogs in the middle of worship. I mean, for crying out loud, God takes worship seriously, you know that? And so I discovered later that he left the puppy and the little kennel back at the back, and he just left. So he must have had some kind of faith. But he made the mistake of coming back after church. And I caught up with him right over by that ramp going up. And I said, "Don't ever do that again in this church. That was rude and out of line." And he said, "God told me to." I said, "He did not. God doesn't tell you to interrupt a worship service. I mean, we're praising God here, and you're giving away a dog." He said, "God told me to." I said, "Give me a break, man." And so I set him straight. Yeah, I straightened him out about the proper way to do church. And that seems kind of strange for me to do that to anybody. But I did. He ticked me off. And later in the week, on Tuesday, I found out the rest of the story. And I'm going to have Louise Corman come and share with you the rest of the story. Let's give her a hand.
Okay, can you hear me? Okay, I brought Ashley with me because she's part of my story. For the past 2 years, my family has gone through incredible grief. We've had terrible, very serious health issues. We've just been hit, and we're still being hit. And I kept praying to God for all these miracles, and God did not answer my prayers like I wanted Him to answer them. We've had a lot of blessings and a lot of good things, and God was always there, but it's been very painful. So about the 2 days before Father's Day, I was coming back from visiting my father, who is an alcoholic. And he intentionally tries to hurt me. And on this day, he hurt me severely and basically said he was disinheriting me. And I was just weeping. I couldn't stop weeping. And my daughter had adopted 5 kids out of foster care 3 years ago, and she gave her dog to me, which was exactly like this dog, but it's white. It was an 8-year-old poodle, and it was white, and I had had it for 3 years. Well, my daughter's oldest son, 10 years old, had done something very severe, and the courts had decided that he needed to be removed from their home permanently for the safety of the other children. So I was losing a grandson at the same time as my dad disinheriting me. And so I was really grieving. And so that day I went to Jim and I said, "Jim, I need a dog. Rebecca took my dog back. And so can I have a dog?" And he's like, "No." He goes, "We finally are without a dog and you want a dog?" And I'm like, "Please." I said, "Emily, really, I am so needy. Do you think you can supply those needs that a dog can give to me?" Now, I told Pastor Ron this, and I'm glad I'm not married to him, because he said I didn't need just one dog. I needed 2 dogs. And Jim, fortunately, was probably thinking the same thing, but he didn't say a word. And because I'm such a submissive wife, when he told me I couldn't have a dog, I immediately was out making phone calls trying to find a dog. And so I was looking on the internet, and I was being very specific. I wanted a black female poodle, preferably an older one, but I would take a puppy, but it had to be between 5 and 7 pounds. And that's what I had with my other dog, but except she was white. And so I called around. I did find a black poodle puppy in Missouri, but it was a puppy, and it was going to be larger. So I went to Jim and I said, hey, can I get this dog tomorrow on Father's Day in Missouri? It's $325. And Jim says, no, we are not driving to Missouri on my Father's Day to pick up a dog, a poodle. He goes, why are we getting poodles? He goes, why don't we get a real dog? So I gave up, and I called my friend Amy. She's a dog breeder of big dogs. And I told her that Jim wouldn't let me have a poodle. And so anyway, I told her exactly what I wanted. I said, I want the exact dog that Tina is, but I want it in black this time. And so since no one has one, I'm just going to have to pray about it, and I want it by tomorrow. So Amy's going, you think? So I just let it go, and on Sunday morning, here's this man down here with this dog. Now, we're sitting in the very back seat, and I really couldn't see what was going on. I know there was a dog here, and Jim goes, Louise, go down and get your dog. And I'm like, oh, that can't be a poodle. I mean, a female poodle. And he's like, I think it was a mutt. And Jim's like, no, it's your dog, go get it. And I'm like, no, I can't. And so then Pastor Ron tells him to go in the back. So he goes in the back, and I just am afraid to even look. And I just took one glance. I'm like, oh, I think it's a poodle. And then I thought, no, I have to give God my full worship. This looks really bad if I go out there and start dickering on a poodle in the middle of church. So Jim's like, go get the poodle, Louise. And I'm like, no. And he's like, I said, would you get it for me? And he goes, it's your miracle. So I didn't get the dog. So I had children's church, and Ashley's in there. And I asked them to bring the dog to me. And not only did they bring the dog to me, she has papers, and she's the exact age of my other dog. And she's the exact size. Now, my daughter has fed hers a little too well. She's gained another pound or 2. But normally, my other dog's 5 pounds, and she is 5 pounds. And she was the exact age, and she's from down where Pittsburgh, Kansas is with a vet. The same place my dog Tina is from. Same vet. So it was just like too good to be true. And I was like, but she says immediately, I have dibs on that dog. And I was like, oh. And I said, and so then I told her and I told the kids that I had prayed for this dog the day before. And she goes, well, you prayed for a black poodle, and this has some gray in it. And then Joey, who is listening to us, kind of like, well, I prayed for it. And she goes, well, it's got gray. And so Joey goes, I don't know, but this is funny. God must have a great sense of humor. So I said, okay, Ashley, maybe I prayed for this dog for you to have it, and I want you to have it. So I left, and Jim and I went out to lunch, and Jim was like, if I wasn't a Christian before today, I would be one now, because I just witnessed a miracle, and you didn't even see it. And he's like, I cannot believe you left that church without that dog. I said, but I gave it to Ashley. How could I say no to Ashley? And he's like, well, for once, you didn't think about yourself for a change. So anyway, we went to lunch, and he wouldn't drop it. I'm feeling really bad. And he wouldn't drop it. He kept bringing it up, going, man, only at the CrossRoads church. And then he was like, you missed the miracle and a gift from God, and you didn't take it. And so I said, well, if that dog is really meant for me, I will eventually get that dog, Jim. And he says, you're a doubting Thomas. Because Thomas in the Bible, Louise, didn't believe that Jesus had left the tomb. And everyone told him that Jesus was walking on earth, and he says, I don't believe it until I see those holes in his hands and the wound in his side. And so for like a week later, Thomas did see Jesus, and he saw those nail holes, and he said, oh, my Lord, my God. And he said, Louise, don't beat yourself up about this. He said, the lesson here is that you have believed. Just like Thomas, I don't know how many times it's going to take you, but you have now believed. So I felt so comforted by my husband knowing that he ministered to me, and I left feeling pretty darn good, but I had to go to my friend Amy and tell her what happened. So of course I'm feeling good until I get to Amy's house, and she goes, you stupid idiot. She goes, here comes a dog and you didn't run forward and get your miracle dog? That's exactly what you prayed for, and what a testimony it would have been to the congregation and that man, and your poor pastor gets mad, and it's all because of you. So now I'm feeling really bad, and she goes, you are such a loser. And I went, you think? So then I was feeling bad for about 2 days, lamenting that I had really let God down. And then I just marched into Pastor Ron's office, and I said, I don't know who has that dog, but I just have to tell you, I prayed for that dog to come on Sunday, and I was disobedient, and I didn't go forward. And so I just want you to know that's why the dog was there. But I could not turn down little Ashley. She's too wonderful. And he got a big smile on his face, and he said, you know, Ashley doesn't have the dog. She couldn't keep it. And it's been passed around the church, but I do know where it is. And he made this phone call. And so I took the dog home, and when Jim saw me get out of the car, he goes, now that's a real dog. So Sophie turns out, because she came with her papers and her vet records, so I could call the vet, and it turns out that she had been a breeding dog, and she had, until she was there with the breeders, until she could not have puppies anymore, and they put her in a rescue home for dogs. And this elderly couple near Pittsburgh picked her up, and they took care of her until they passed away. And then when they passed away, they gave the dog to their daughter. And their daughter is the one we presume, because of the man knowing this information, who left the dog here. The daughter was going through a laundromat and met this man. I don't care. Anyway, so he was like going through and the laundromat, and then he tells the guy at the laundromat is telling the woman that he has given away puppies or sold puppies or something. And so she handed the dog to him and said, this was my mother's, and she passed away. Would you be able to find a home for it? So then we know that the next story is that the man comes here and holds the dog up, and of course I don't go forward. I missed the miracle, and I realized if Jesus had been born in that manger, and if I had been standing right there, I would have missed the miracle. And if I had been Thomas or any of the apostles and Jesus came out of that tomb, I'd miss that too. So I just thought, the whole week I've been telling everyone about her. I went to the laundromats and put little posters thanking that man, telling the story. We have been like telling everyone. We went to a nursing home. One little girl rededicated her life to Christ. I'm not going to stop talking about it, because I got comfort for this week. I thought, I don't know what her future is, but I know for me, I got the comfort I needed from God this week. And when I look back on it, it was on Father's Day. My earthly father had let me down and rejected me, but I could say my heavenly Father was like saying to me, Louise, I know I haven't answered your prayers like you want them to be answered for the past 2 years, but you've been faithful, and you've been on your knees, and we've had a relationship. So for one time, I'm going to knock the socks off of you, and I'm going to give you your prayer request exactly like you want it. And so I can just say that God, my great rescuer, used a little rescue dog to rescue me, and like Doubting Thomas said in the Bible, my Lord, my God. Thank you.